Hi, I'm That E-Guy, and welcome to another GameHeart review. Dicey Dungeons is a turn-based dungeon crawler by veteran game designer Terry Kavanagh, the creative genius behind games such as V and Super Hexagon. In Dicey Dungeons, hopeful contestants join a game show run by Lady Luck herself. Each contestant is transformed into a die and then thrown into a dungeon. If they are able to clear the dungeon, they earn the right to spin the wheel for a chance to win their ultimate desires. At first, it seems like Dicey Dungeons is a roguelike, but I don't think this is a fair comparison despite the similarities. Sure, dungeons are randomly generated and losing in the dungeon will send you back to the main menu. A given playthrough only lasts around 30 minutes to an hour, so it feels as though it fits the description. However, the base playthrough isn't particularly difficult, and once you've learned the intricacies of a given character, you're likely to finish the dungeon on your next try, or two if you're unlucky. You'll start with a single character to play, and after a few tries or a win, you'll unlock the next one, and so on. All in all, there are 6 characters to play, and each of these characters play very differently, so there's a lot of variety to playing the game. I'll cover the differences between the characters a little later on. This variety will entertain most players for a few hours, but after beating the game with a few characters, you might start worrying about how much staying power the game has. This concern is fair, but the game doesn't end after just one run with each character. You'll quickly unlock extra episodes, which provide each character with 5 extra deviations to replay the dungeon for a total of 6 episodes each. These deviations are much harder than the basic versions, and it will be difficult to beat them. So, you have around 36 individual episodes to keep yourself busy, at around half an hour each. There's a good amount of playtime here, but I can't promise that all of it is going to be fun. I personally found some of the episodes to be frustrating more than anything else, as although the main episodes feel fair, some of the other deviations add a lot of random chance to the mix, which doesn't really add any extra fun, and can end an otherwise successful run quite quickly, forcing you to try the entire episode again. If I understand correctly, there are also bonus episodes and harder variations on these episodes, but I haven't progressed that far through the game and can't comment on how these play or how many there are. If you can't tell from the video, in Dicey Dungeons you will move around these simple maps, and if you move into an enemy, it will start a turn-based battle. As the player, you will be given a hand of dice that are rolled for you at the start of each turn. These dice can be used with weapons that the character has in order to deal damage and status effects, or buff the player. As the outcome of the battle is determined by your dice rolls, Dicey Dungeons is clever enough to allow the player to modify dice rolls with various tools and character abilities. This makes a game that would normally feel entirely random quite skill-based and deliberate. Ending the battle by defeating an enemy will earn the character experience and money. The experience is used to level the character up, which will normally unlock more dice to use each turn, but each character is different. Money can be spent in stores to unlock new equipment or upgrade existing ones to perfect your loadout for a given run. The basic gameplay loop looks as though it would be similar to Slay the Spire. However, where Slay the Spire is more difficult and perhaps more randomised from playthrough to playthrough, Dicey Dungeons feels quite similar each time you play. Even though there are a lot of different enemy varieties and different pieces of equipment to collect, I never felt my general strategy changing regardless of what items I had or what enemy I was facing. Due to this, Dicey Dungeons has a different feel to the tactical decisions that are made in Slay the Spire. But fear not, as there are still interesting decisions to be made here, with dice rolls determining what attacks you can play and how effective they are. There are also shields and healing in Dicey Dungeons, which I felt were a little unbalanced. There is a particular style of shield that reduces a flat amount of damage from every attack, which is extremely useful, but there is also a style that simply adds temporary health on top of your health pool, but this disappears at the end of combat. The problem with these skills is that the payoff is often not worth the dice that you would spend. For example, you might use a dice roll that could do 5 to 10 damage to the enemy, to instead heal 1 to 3 points of health, or add a small shield. Generally, it's extremely difficult to maintain a shield or get enough healing to make it worth using these skills when you can simply kill the enemy and then make use of the healing items on the map to restore lost health. This has helped further, as after a level up, the player is fully healed, and then the next level up isn't ever too far away, allowing for yet another full heal. Despite this small complaint regarding the defensive options, there are so many other tools to use that skipping over the healing and shields still leaves you with plenty of other options to create a variety of different viable builds. The Warrior is the most basic character class. The Warrior's skill allows them to re-roll a dice 3 times per turn. A great character to learn the basics of the game, it's no surprise that the Warrior is the only unlocked character when starting the game. His starting loadout rewards big rolls by hitting hard. Each turn, the Thief steals an enemy's piece of equipment at random, allowing you to use the enemy's own attacks against them. The Thief also starts with a range of tools that require low dice rolls to use successfully, and even comes with a tool that can split dice in 2 in order to get off an extra attack. Instead of rolling dice, the robot has a CPU that lets them keep track of dice that have been rolled. You manually roll die one at a time, and each time one is rolled, the value is added to the robot's CPU total. If the max CPU number is exceeded, the robot is overloaded and all of their skills are disabled for the rest of the turn. If you roll equal to the max CPU, a limit break is earned and you can do one of 3 useful effects, such as doing damage to an enemy, healing, or rolling an extra die to use on a tool. The Inventor has a gadget that can be used once per turn without spending a die. These very powerful gadgets can turn the tide of battle easily with guaranteed results. However, at the end of combat, the Inventor gets bored of the gadget and destroys one of their tools in order to make a new gadget to use in the next battle. The Witch has a spell book. When playing as the Witch, spells replace tools, and 6 spells can be recorded in the spellbook, being placed in slot 1 to 6. During combat, a die can be spent on the spellbook to prepare the corresponding numbered spell in the active area. This allows the Witch to swap skills in the middle of combat and constantly change up their strategy. By far the hardest character to manage in the game, but also one of the most fun to play due to the huge range of possibilities available to them. Additionally, if a die is useless, the Witch can also throw it at the enemy in order to do a single point of damage per die. The final character is a secret, so I won't talk too much about this one to prevent spoilers. The visuals in Dicey Dungeons are nothing special. The characters all have some nice charm to their appearance, but the animations are quite simple, and after you see each new enemy once, there really isn't too much to look at. Thankfully, the art style is pleasant and everything is nice on the eyes. Most importantly, the user interface is communicated very clearly, allowing for a streamlined gameplay experience where you don't need to battle menus in addition to enemies. The soundtrack is incredible. Each song fits the theme of the game and has enough energy to keep you bopping along whilst playing. Listening back on this video, I keep wishing I'd stop talking so that I can hear more of the sweet tunes that are playing in the background. The sound effects to support the gameplay are nice, but nothing special. The dice roll sound is probably the most memorable sound in the game, and it works very well, which is good because you'll be hearing it often. Each character has their own little voice for when they take damage that helps flesh out their unique personalities. The story in Dicey Dungeons feels light-hearted, as none of the characters seem to take the plot seriously. This works very well, in that the story is told to you, but the overall energy of the game remains happy and carefree. Even as the plot takes a more serious turn, Dicey Dungeons manages to maintain its tone with light-hearted humour whilst making me want to progress further to find out what will happen next. Dicey Dungeons is a fun game. Each character has their own unique playstyle that sets them apart, and there is enough content available to give you time to really learn the intricacies that are offered. The randomly generated dungeons, despite being full of a range of different tools to use and enemies to battle, often feel quite samey, but this doesn't detract too heavily from the fun that is found in making your way through the story, thanks to the variety that is introduced with each episode. I hope you enjoyed this review. Please like or share the video if you feel so inclined, or leave a comment and I'll get back to you.